Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Muck on the Markets. It is the Ides of March, the 15th of March, 2016. We have Muck here. We haven't done this show in quite some time. In our little pregame that we had briefly before the show started, I talked about kind of what I've been doing, which is really next to nothing recently. Kind of sitting and waiting. We have a Fed meeting coming up tomorrow and the next day, I guess. And I just been kind of holding off. I think we're kind of stuck in the muck. But Muck, you said you've been trading quite a bit. What's up?
Yeah, I've just been trading the S&P 500 futures lately on the overnight. Playing around a little bit on the daytime right now. I have a little position on. But other than that, just been watching Apple, watching Disney. I think you're gonna start seeing that Disney gets away from the running off those ESPN numbers, especially since every movie they keep putting out right now seems to be topping the chart. And I think that's really gonna start affecting their bottom line.
What films have they had recently, and what do they have coming out in the can, so to speak?
Well, they did Star Wars, so that crushed it. They just had Zootopia, which was a animated kids movie, which crushed it. Made $450 million in the first 2 weeks. And they also have Captain America: Civil War coming out soon.
Is that fight amongst the Justice League?
No, that is I think that's Fox, because that's a DC thing.
Okay.
So I think Fox owns the Batman Superman one with Ben Affleck and whoever the new Superman is now. So I think that's a Fox thing. So that could help Fox out, especially if it does like Star Wars numbers. But I'm also a big Ben Affleck fan, so I mean, I want him to do good. So I guess you can't take seriously anything I say about that. I don't know. I think it looks good. So,
well, talking about things that we can't take you seriously about, let's talk about WWE, which is one of your long-term favorites. What do you think of this bad boy?
I mean, so far I've heard that they have sold out Dallas Cowboy Stadium, AT&T Stadium in Arlington for WrestleMania. So that bodes really, really, really well.
When is that?
That's April 4th coming up. So hopefully, if they get a whole bunch of WrestleMania buys, the network does good. You should see some good numbers come out, and I think the stock can get about to 20 again.
I have just short of 18 right now.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm long 19 calls. The 19 calls. So I'm hoping it gets over the 20, but I think it will.
Did they just have a dividend not long ago?
Yes. They do a quarterly dividend.
What do they pay out?
I think it's 18 cents or every quarter. I think it's like 6-point-something%. I haven't checked it in a while.
That's not bad. I mean, they have there's a differentiation in shares between the ones owned by Vince McMahon and such, and the ones owned by the public. Isn't that true?
No, I don't think so. Because I know that when Stephanie and them sell their shares on the same shares as the public owns, I don't think there is a differentiation. I don't think there's a preferred share out there.
Well, I'll mark that down on checking. I'm pretty sure.
Someone can check that. I haven't checked it in a little while, so I might be off on the dividend, but I don't think there's a separate class of shares as far as I've seen it reported.
Okay.
Because they generally make companies make big deals about insider buying, insider selling, and stuff like that. And I know Stephanie for a while was selling down some of her shares because she owned a lot of stock, a crap ton of it. And it seemed to be reported as it was just general, a bulk, company officer selling the shares.
Okay. All right. Well, what? So
But I
you
could, I mean, I could be wrong on that. I'm fine to admit that I am
this,
if I
you
am
think that
wrong.
this WrestleMania is going to generate some big income for them?
I
And
think
it
that
is.
WrestleMania could generate huge
Are
income for them.
they calendar year taxpayer or calendar year?
Yes, as far as I know, I think they are.
Okay, so
I think as their corporation goes, they're a calendar year, but as the storylines and stuff like that goes, they're not a calendar year because WrestleMania ends their year.
I see. I see. But that's yeah. I was just wondering, um, in terms of in terms of what what quarter this would fall into. Although them having just declared a dividend, one expects that related to the prior quarter. So
Yes.
this would fall into the second quarter. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know. You have any idea what expectations for those numbers are in that are kind of baked in the numbers versus what you think what you anticipate that's going to happen?
I know they need to. They want to set the record that they set at the Pontiac Silverdome, and that was 93,000 people. So they're hoping to get over 100,000 people at Jerry's World, which I would like to see them do. Also, I would like to see a lot more subscribers coming into the network. Sorry, I'm trying to just flatten out a position
When
right
you
now.
say this subscriber thing, you've been talking up for well over a year with me. I honestly, had I not discussed this stock with you innumerable times, I don't think I'd know about it. I don't think it's well publicized, and I
Um,
really wonder why that is. Now, admittedly, I'm not a Monday night watcher of WWE, and I'm not buying the pay.
Are you talking about they give the subscribers numbers every time they do a conference call.
Right.
So that's when you're going to get to subscribers numbers. They're just not going to put it out there. Because they
But
did do it one time.
They don't seem to promote. They don't seem to promote it either, which is interesting to me.
Oh no, they promote the crap out of the network. It's been on Twitter. It's been, I mean, it's all over ESPN.
Well, like I
You
say,
know,
I don't follow it, and I try to conspicuously avoid commercials. So that may be the reason why I don't know that. Anyway, let's move on from there. You started talking a little bit about Disney. Let's talk a little bit more about Disney. And I guess your theory is at this point that the ESPN decrease in numbers, that is the untethering from live TV, is relatively overblown as in terms of its impact on the stock.
I think it is. I mean, people are talking about the skinny bundles and all this other stuff, and I think I just don't. You're. I'm trying to put this eloquently. I think you're taking Disney as a huge media company, and you're just saying that it's only ESPN and that's all that matters. When I don't think it is. I think it's a lot of other stuff.
But let's be clear on that. Mock. I mean, they do generate a hell of a lot of revenue from cable subscribers. I quoted them last show. I thought it was $3.33 is what you pay. Every cable subscriber pays for ESPN. So to decrease the viewership and please hold that number, that 333. That is purely from recollection. I did know the number at one point, but those brain cells have obviously died. But to lose subscribers is to lose a recurring base of revenue for sure.
Yeah, no, that is true. And it is high margin stuff that they are losing. But if you look at the theme parks are low margin, but they make a ton of profit. Sorry, I just had a really bad trade that I just got out of. That was why I was rolling my eyes.
I did see that Disney changed the pricing, on their theme parks, at least in the U.S. That is Disneyland and Disney World.
Yeah. But the theme parks make a lot of money. They're yes, it's not high margin, but it's good. The movies are paying for themselves in huge profit now, and Disney seems to have figured out. I'm gonna call it like a formula to make really good movies and get the public to buy them. And I mean, it's not just so much of like, oh, well, they got Star Wars and they got the Marvel movies. I mean, they just put out a movie about what it's like for an animal to live in a zoo if it was a real world, which you're like, what? Yeah, they killed it. Like I think they've figured it out, which um, we've all said for a long time. That if a movie studio ever figured out how to not have the big losses and just have the hits, that the stock would go insane. And it looks to show that Disney has kind of figured that out. They can prove me wrong. They can have like huge failures, but I don't think they are. I think they're putting the right directors and the right franchises in there.
Okay, well let's move on from Disney then. I mean, you're relatively bullish. I have not. I guess I should call up a chart on that before we move off of it, because I kind of I follow it in my stream, but I don't follow it carefully because I don't have any plays on at this point in time. It's down a little bit on the 1 hour. It gapped down today, but it's trading just shy of 98 right now. What are your targets on that?
I think it gets back up to 105 soon. And at 105, I mean,
are they doing any buyback?
What?
Do they have buyback money in play?
Yes.
How much? Any idea?
I don't know how much is left at this exact stage. I can't give you a quote on that one.
I mean, buybacks seem to be the the instant cure-all for Wall Street. Borrow money for nothing, and then buy back shares.
Buy back your own stock. Right?
Yeah,
that's the way to go, right?
It's an interesting concept. Anyway, let's talk about one that we have gone back and forth on quite a bit, which is enjoying a nice little pop here of late. Long after I got out of my short, which is Apple. What are your thoughts there? You got to be pretty pleased with. I mean, it ran contrary to the market all day today.
Yeah. I like they've always said, no news is bad news, right? So I think the American people feel that Apple's really fighting for them, even though I do believe that the American people think that Apple's unhackable, which is obviously proven to be not true. And it's also part of Apple's myth that they use that they're amazing like that.
Well, not to devolve too much into the political realm, but that case has some real problems. One of the underreported things regarding the whole challenge by justice to Apple's encryption system, as it relates in particular this time to the terrorists with San Bernardino, was that they actually did have access and somehow blew it, and are now trying to get it back again. And I think Apple puts up a decent case in that to do it once is simply going to open you up to a whole host of different requests. There's already requests from France. There's requests that are supposedly bubbling up within the Department of Justice. New York State has spoken up and said they want them to look at things. I mean, it is a slippery slope, and where the government's quote unquote need or desire to get information or have it available to them vis-a-vis a company's requirement to provide such information is an extremely difficult issue. Extremely difficult. And I think that when you get down to it, I think the prosecutors are a little bit lazy. And in this case, there have been a few stories, and they've gone kind of below the radar a little bit, that, again, that the feds actually screwed this up, that they did have a means to get into that phone. Also, it's interesting, it was a county-owned phone. The county had a way to install something in all the phones it bought, a program that would have allowed all that information to be accessed. They didn't take the time to put it in place. So anyway, that's totally an aside. But anyway, what do you see for Apple? I mean, I had seen on my charts last I really looked at it, which was probably over the weekend. 105 was kind of a big area for Apple. Where are its growth products? I know that Samsung recently came out with Samsung 7 and some upgraded Samsung 7, which everything I've read, and I am up for an upgrade, thinking about getting it, but I have to get myself organized to do it, is that phone beats every Apple product on the market currently. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I used to work in, we all know I used to work in the phone industry, and yeah, Samsungs are generally always ahead of where Apple is. There's been some sneak peeks of the Apple, Apple 7, and it looks like it has the curved edges that the Samsungs now have.
Right.
So it seems like if you really want to see what the new thing is, it's always look at Samsung's Note. The Note seems to lead the way for technology.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's kind of where that is. But I think if Apple does get past this 105, I think you're gonna get I think you have a shot on a pretty big bull upswing. It seems like the market doesn't want to die right now, and it seems like we're getting leaders that are not FANG. So that's always good.
Yeah, I mean, again, on my charts, I show that we're close up against resistance here. We're near the 200-day moving average. Yesterday, I think we poked our head maybe a little bit above it, and then ducked back down below it. But I think we're in a difficult situation here. We may have to turn bullish very soon. I don't know, and that's why I've been kind of laying in the weeds, sitting kind of quiet. But I'll give you a little bit of a view on some longer-term options that I do have sitting out there, just because weather's getting better here. I was out, took the dogs to the dog park today. I haven't made a trade. I don't think I've made a trade all week. I made very few trades last week, but I am sitting on some options, none of which are lighting the world on fire. I am short Ford. Now, Ford, Ford was mucking around in the 12s. Then earnings came out, it popped, and its pop has continued. They sell cars. Again, it's my belief they're running out of people to sell new cars to, because they are selling to anybody that can fog a mirror. They're willing to sell a car to. But I just don't know. I just don't know how much life it has in it. But I'm sitting on some July puts. I also have July puts in Alcoa AA, and my thought process there is I think aluminum, although it's the pricing on it is remotely positive, I think, over the last 90 days, certainly the last 65 or 70 days. I'm worried about China. There were stories about China dumping aluminum already in the U.S. There was a report made to Congress or to the Commerce Department regarding the same. Of course, they have 90 days to act. They're just dicking around. And by the time they act, the impact has already been felt. In the Financial Times yesterday, there was an interesting story. China's largest aluminum manufacturer is actually projecting an increase in volume this coming year, which I found fascinating. Again, they're not using it up in China, but somehow they're increasing it. So that's where I'm sitting. I've got a few other plays out there, nothing that's lighting the world on fire. I'm just kind of kissing my sister. Any other thoughts, Muck?
I feel you. I'm I mean, today I was up, in my futures account, I was up about 500. I was down a couple hundred, and now I'm fighting my way back. Not lighting the world on fire. Just kind of hanging out. Um, every day trying to, scrape together some pennies. Um, I, so you're not worried at all about that Alcoa breaking up at all? Like you don't think that affects?
I mean,
you don't think that will affect that stock price?
I mean that's coming up very soon. If you notice what Alcoa has been doing, it ran up to I think 975 or something. Looked like it was headed at 10, but it has done nothing but go backwards since. And do I think there's some value there? Yeah, I think there's value, but I think it's all dependent upon whether are we going to stay at this elevated level of car manufacturing? Is Boeing, which is already facing some problems, going to continue to? Hey! I don't need to hear you. That's my dog, or one of my dogs. But anyway, I just think I think that you do perhaps unlock some value. I don't know. Now is a great time. I think Klaus Klausfield, who is the CEO of Alcoa, has been struggling to generate some value. Alcoa only makes money via accounting. I mean, it's releasing reserves. It's just managing numbers at this point. It's a dying company. It's way too big. Whether the split up of the company makes sense, I hope so. I think there is some long-term benefits to what they're doing, at least in the company that's going to be spun off, which is not the rolling and manufacturing and mining of bauxite, but rather these high-end usages in primarily the automotive and the jet industry. So I don't know, but I have to tell you, having some intimate knowledge of the industry, I am not terribly optimistic. Although, if you look to one of its main competitors, it's also a public company, Century, which is based in North Carolina. I think its symbol is CTY. It actually has been on a heck of a run. So it's interesting.
Well,
but anyway, that's all my thoughts there.
I'll let you know that I'm severely kicking myself for not holding on to that long position that I got out of earlier for a loss, because I forgot it's almost at 3:30 ramp time, and Ramp Capital just kicked in and shot us up to almost new highs on the day.
I see that.
And I would have made I would have made a crap ton of money.
I think I know who Ramp Capital is, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I happen to be one of the few people he follows, or a relatively small number. But yes, I'm pretty certain I know who it is. And I will tell you, despite his name, I think his normal view on the market is somewhat more sanguine. Anyway, Muck, anything else you got for us? Let's wrap it up and bring it back. I mean, now I have wrested the keys to this service, so I no longer need to lean on anybody else to start one of these episodes. So I have some other people in the queue that I have kind of put off while I was getting this up to speed, and I wanted to make sure that it worked with you, and it does. So we're good to go. So let's do this again next week. What do you say?
Yeah. All the time. We'll do it as much as we can.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your 3 plays. You're looking at Apple, WWE, and Disney. Give us some updates on some other stuff next week. And thanks so very much for joining us. Muck on the Markets. We'll see you next week. Bye.